Have you ever experienced unfinished business? Michael Seebeck and I discovered just that as we were researching the acceptable use of technology policies at our Catholic high schools. Little did we know that the horse was already out of the barn. We were listening to your conversations, either during formal class discussions or informal side conversations. Many of you spoke of difficulties accessing digital resources like YouTube. Others talked about how search prompts led to sites being blocked, or how during WebQuest school filters shut down links, even to something as accessible as PBS. Your experiences gave Michael and me pause. We considered our own schools, our own digital experiences, the challenges that we faced. Mike teaches biological forensics. He was setting up a lesson plan, investigating 9/11 from a forensics perspective. As he stepped back to look at the prompts that he assembled for student use, he thought about the school's filter. What would it make of forensic terminology with regard to 9/11? What would it make of the sites that the students' searches would lead to? Should he consult with his principal or IT people before doing the class? I teach in the humanities. I was looking for a quiet space to catch up on assessments, but the principal found me out. He asked me how the online class was going, and before I could respond, he added, "I accepted the invitation to the wiki for the course, but when I went to view the videos posted, I was blocked. If the principal can't get access, what will students do to get access to the various sites?" We realized from our shared stories that something was missing. So we went off online in search of acceptable use policies at our own schools. Mike found at Immaculate Conception High School a concise statement, yet its language was still more prohibitive than proactive. I discovered at St. Peter's Prep that there were indications that an acceptable use policy existed, but no one could find it. We even checked out the educational sites at the website for the Archdiocese of Newark, only to discover that the last acceptable use policy had been developed prior to 2004. So Mike and Dom went off in search of models, exemplars, and templates for acceptable use policies. We looked in public schools. Mike came across the Orange Township Public School System. I discovered the Toms River Regional School System. Both systems offered acceptable use policies that govern not only individual schools, but their entire district. There were policies that had to be signed, agreements between students, parents, and all employees before anyone could undertake using technology for learning. They tended to be, though, more prohibitive in language. We were looking for something that was a bit more of a proactive model, something with more positive and encouraging language. A policy that would encourage students, call students, to be responsible digital citizens. For Catholic schools, we discovered that there were bits and pieces of access and use policies and codes here and there, but there really was an absence of any coherent, consistent, acceptable use guidelines. Something that would invite students to use responsibly technologies within their school. So what does a Catholic high school have to do to develop a proactive, acceptable use policy? We are recommending that each school establish 2 working groups under a local school technology team. The first group consists of teachers representing each discipline, informational technology staff, the dean or administrator managing school discipline, and either the academic vice principal or the principal. The first working group will formulate the AUP. The second working group would consist of a board member responsible for the academic life of the school, parents representing students at each academic level, and 2 representatives from the student council. This second working group would act as consultants reviewing and offering commendations and recommendations for the proposed official acceptable use policies. Now, what should an AUP look like? It should include a preamble, a definition section, a policy statement, an acceptable use section, an unacceptable use section, and a violations section, sanctions section. The most significant outcome of the planning and formulating process is an AUP that all partners of the learning community can own and uphold in daily practice. Something the whole school can go to for creating guidelines for access and use. Now, before we begin, in the next step, it's important to remember that the task for acceptable use of technology policies is a school-wide responsibility. It involves all constituencies, beginning with the principal and the chairs. The principal is the person who sets into practice the process. The department chairs are that level of leadership that clarifies the chain of command for teachers, students, and parents. Principals and chairs together ensure that all constituents are educated about the AUPs, making it clear to teachers, students, and parents what the process of resolution looks like should there be any questions or any conflicts. A teacher's code must keep in mind that all technology is in service to learning. That one of the teacher's main tasks are to help students not only discover what's accessible online, but to learn how to navigate it, how to make use of the information and the resources. That a teacher should make very clear to students about the place and purpose of technology and learning in a way that makes sense to students. That students and teachers create digital storehouses for all of the students' assignments so that both teacher and student and school can have access to them for review. That everything that we do in the classroom regarding technology is for the purpose of academic pursuits. That all these digital warehouses and storehouses and resources really become a magnificent academic toolkit. AUPs also include a student code. Students should seize the opportunities that technology gives them to work with teachers, to identify the most effective resources, to collaborate with peers near and far, and to discover that all things that have to do with technology really have to do with advancing learning for your peers and yourself. The codes that come from AUPs extend to parents as well. These policies and codes can act as a manual providing directions for parents on the use of technology at home, for recreation, or especially when students are doing schoolwork at home. Making sure that using technology at home for schoolwork It is an opportunity for growth in academic skills and knowledge, as well as developing a sense of responsibility in the digital world. So what are we proposing for Catholic high schools regarding acceptable use policies? We're calling for AUPs to be holistic, to be set in a proactive language, to ensure accessibility to digital resources for all students, so that each student can realize their potential and become responsible global digital citizens.